Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dan Lanning, the Oregon Ducks continue to roll on the recruiting trail, landing the commitment of five-star safety Trey McNutt from the state of Ohio. And for the Oregon fans who've been rocking with the boys the last couple of weeks, you guys know that Trey McNutt's one of my favorite prospects in this 2025 cycle. And I think where you want to start with Trey McNutt is he is a premier athlete that you can do so many different things with in the defensive back end. And you look at Dan Lanning and Tosh Lupo and what they want this Oregon Ducks defense to look like. They want to do a lot of different things. They want to give a lot of different looks. You look at Trey McNutt, and he's one of those players that you can do a ton of different things with. You look at Trey McNutt as a potential nickel cornerback around the line of scrimmage. He is elite in man coverage. He can play that box safety role at 6 foot 180 put together, can give you that run support. But I think most importantly, and he gives you that premier free safety that can cover a lot of ground in that deeper third and take the football away. And you look at Trey McNutt, 6 foot, 180 pounds, runs a 10.8 in the 100-meter dash. This is one of those safeties that you can leave as a single high safety and ask him to cover a lot of ground in the back end and go make a lot of plays. That's what Trey McNutt brings to this Oregon Ducks defense. So not only are you getting just a really, really good athlete, you're getting a really good football player that you can do a lot of different things with. Massive fan of Trey McNutt, going to get into the film, kind of get a sense of what Oregon is going to do with Trey McNutt and what Trey McNutt can bring to this Oregon program. Before we get into it, as always, massive shout out to the Oregon Duck fans. The Oregon commitment sweatshirt getting its use on a Saturday afternoon. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. Many of y'all know I've had a blast talking this program, specifically on the recruiting trail. The amount of support the Oregon fans continue to show, it truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into Trey McNutt. I first want to start with what this Oregon defensive back room is going to look like, not only in 2024, but over the next couple of years, where you look at the 2025 class, you start talking about guys like Brandon Finney and Dorian Brew, and now five-star safety, the number one safety in the class, Trey McNutt. But you go back to the 2024 class, start talking about Dakota Fields, Ifeoma Badegwu, Aaron Flowers. This Oregon secondary is going to be elite, not only in 2024 with a lot of guys that probably will move on to the NFL draft after this year, but you have a ton of talent coming into this Oregon program that I'll look at this Oregon secondary and say, it's hard to see it not being one of the better units in the country over the next couple of years. And you get into Trey McNutt, what I want to start with is what he can do commanding the middle of the field, whether it's playing kind of that single high safety role, whether it's kind of coming in closer to the line of scrimmage, kind of playing that robber role. Trey McNutt not only is a phenomenal athlete, he has such good feel for that safety position. You kind of roll the film here, reading the quarterback's eyes, and then just going where he needs to go. He's very good at getting a feel for where the quarterback wants to go, but also having a feel of what's happening in front and behind him, breaking on the football, breaking up the pass. And then I think the second thing you got to talk about is Trey McNutt being a safety that can run the alley and give you run support. These kind of athletes like Trey McNutt are at a premium in this college football era, where you see a lot of programs try to get a ton of speed on the football field, where you as a defense, you need to match it. You need to have guys like Trey McNutt who can hold up in coverage, but teams are going to try to run the football against you. And if you can match the speed personnel, but also have guys on the football field who not only give you that coverage ability against all that speed, but also can run the alley and give you that run support, those are the special players. That's what Trey McNutt brings. You take a look at this one, really good feel for kind of picking through traffic. But I think more importantly, this kid is just extremely physical, working downhill, really, really good form on his tackles too. He's not a guy that is just kind of throwing his body around. He wants to do it the right way when he attacks the line of scrimmage and gets involved in the run game. I think the second thing you love is what he can do in man coverage. And this is something that's really important, especially in terms of Dan Lanning, Tosh Lupo, what they want to do, where if you want to blitz your front seven, you have to have safeties that can hold up in man coverage. And you look at Trey McNutt, plays a lot of boundary cornerback at the high school level. He's elite at it. And I think that's another massive asset that Trey McNutt brings to the football field. Not only just a really good football player, he's a really good football player that allows you to do so many different things on defense. You fire up this piece of film here, Trey McNutt, just kind of putting the clamps on as a cornerback, which is something you absolutely love to see. Really, really good in man coverage. sticky defender, very elite short area quickness. And then I think the last thing you got to talk about is what he can do coming down and filling in the run game. This is a guy that wants to get involved in the run game. It's hard to find safeties who want to do this type of thing at the high school level. Trey McNutt, he can do this at an extremely high level. I think that's something you love about Trey McNutt. Again, really good at working through traffic. But I think more importantly, this is a safety that he does it the right way when he comes down and runs support as well. Again, you watch this, working through traffic. We are wrapping up, rolling, and bringing guys to the ground. That's exactly how you want it to look. You look at Oregon in this 2025 cycle, that is now 2 5-stars locked up, a couple other guys in Dorian Brew, Dallas Wilson, who are essentially on the fringe of being 5-stars, but specifically in the back end of this defense. You talk about last year, Ifeatu Obadigu, Dakota Fields, Aaron Flowers, Kingston Lopa, and you stack that with Dorian Brew, Brandon Finney, and now Trey McNutt. Oregon is building an arsenal of young talent in the back end of this defense, and I think that's really important because you look at Oregon after this 2024 year, they're going to lose a lot of guys, right? Jabbar Muhammad's going to go to the NFL. You look at some of those safeties, Kobe Savage, guys like Tasheem Johnson. There's going to be a lot of veteran talent on this Oregon team that is going to go to the NFL. How does Dan Lanning get this Oregon Ducks program to the point where it's competing every single year for national championships? It's having that ability to lose guys to the NFL and having a ton of young talent coming through this program where you're essentially just recycling NFL players. Have guys go to the NFL. You have NFL caliber players kind of stepping up in their place. That's where Oregon's getting at. You look at the 2024 class, top 5 recruiting class in the country. You look at this class right now, probably going to be a top 5 class in the country. You look at 2026, they're obviously off to already a very, very good start. You look at Dan Lanning, what he wants to build with this Oregon Ducks program. It's national championships every single year. And are you going to win a national championship every single year? No, probably not. But this is an Oregon team that you see year after year. I mean, they're going to be the Georgia and the Alabama, the programs that it doesn't matter what they lose. They're always going to be competing for national championships. Oregon's creating that on the recruiting trail. And I think specifically for a guy like Trey McNutt, what you love to see is, again, this is the top player in the state of Ohio, and you're going to the state of Ohio against a conference rival now with Ohio State and grabbing that talent and bringing it to Eugene. I mean, DeCorian Moore was a lean to Ohio State at a point. You go get him. You look at Trey McNutt, lean to Ohio State at a point. You go get him. Dorian Brew, another guy that was leaning towards Ohio State. You go and get it done for Dorian Brew. I mean, Oregon not only getting it done on the recruiting trail, but you start looking at that Big Ten hierarchy and say, Oregon's putting themselves in a spot where they're going to be consistently at the top of not only the Big Ten Conference, but really the top of college football over the next couple of years. A lot to be excited about if you're an Oregon Ducks fan. We'll cut it there. Again, appreciate y'all rocking with the fellas. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later.